not to say it's not replacing the name of the organic regulation. It's just strictly to refer to the updates that were made to the regs. And the implementation date was on March 19th, 2024. So it's been in effect for a couple of months. And the primary objective was to enhance the consumer confidence in the organic seal and also reduce fraud, because over the years, there has been an increase of a lot of organic fraud cases. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little introduction to the NOP standards, where you can find information, important resources for you guys to know, and we're also going to cover SOE. Now, the four categories that we're going to cover are reduce the number of exempt operations in the supply chain, import certificates, strengthen oversight of certification activities, and strengthen traceability and supply chain records. Now, one thing to know, and please keep in mind, is that we're not going to cover everything with SOE. What we're covering is just what's important to you guys, and that mainly affects you guys as the operators. Okay, so to give you a little introduction to the NOP standard, because it's important to know where to find information. So the NOP has a homepage, and on this homepage, you're going to be able to find everything related to the organic regulations. So whether that be the actual regulations themselves, any announcements that the NOP has made, also any trainings that they do, they put everything on here. And I'll make sure to share this, my presentation, so that it gets shared with you guys, so that you guys have the links. Everything is hyperlinked in here. Okay, and the Code of Federal Regulations. So the organic regulations are published under the Code of Federal Regulations under the Part 205. And that's where you can find the handling, the crop, and the livestock. Will pop up, and also the products and the contact information of that operator. All right, so now we're going to go into strengthening organic enforcement. And as a reminder, March 19th was the official implementation date, so it's been a couple months since it's been in effect. So what we're going to look at today, and remember, these are not everything, but these are the main changes that affect you guys as the operators. So fraud prevention. So beginning with the biggest update to the regulation being the update to the term handler. And this is reflected in 205.2. So before SOE, the definition was very simple, and It honestly only really addressed processing and packing houses and processors. So there was a lot of operations in the supply chain that were exempt from certification. But under SOE, it got expanded into everything that you see here. So it's to sell, process, or package agricultural products, including but not limited to trading, facilitating sale or trade on behalf of a seller or oneself, importing to the United States, exporting to the United States, combining, aggregating, cooling, conditioning, treating, packaging, containerizing, repackaging, labeling, storing, receiving, or loading. So so basically, the point is the NOP really try to encompass all of the activities that an operator can potentially do. And the main takeaway here, I went ahead and highlighted it, is that the NOP now includes people that only sell, being traders, brokers, or importers that never physically see the product, but they are making organic sales. So now they're no longer exempt from certification and are required to be certified. So basically, the new definition has expanded to cover the entire supply chain for them to obtain certification. Now, there are still exemptions, and the entire list of exemptions can be found under 205 101A through H, and they are very specific. The two that we're not going to review all of them, but the two that we're going to go over today are the ones that we get the most questions on. Um, so let's go ahead and take a look at what those are. The main takeaway from the two, though, I just wanted to summarize it here for you, is if exempt, an operation may only store and distribute in tamper-proof packaging. And please keep in mind that the packaging may not be altered while in possession of that operation. So meaning like you can't be opening it for even a quality check. Basically, the way that you receive the product is the way that the product will be leaving your operation. And then each operation will be individually responsible for the suppliers that you work with. And if you are working with any uncertified suppliers, it will have to be reported to your certifier. And then lastly, if an operation is exempt, they're still required to maintain records and prevent contamination of organic products. So meaning they're not really off the hook if they're not certified. In case of an investigation, recall, anything like that, they have to be willing and able to work with you to get you that information in regards to organic product. All right, so exemption that we're going to look at today, number one is it specifically talks about storage and distribution centers. So the exemption is listed under 205 101E. And these are operations that only receive, store, and the product remains in the same container the whole time. And please remember that the packaging needs to be in tamper-proof packaging or a sealed container, meaning that if the packaging is open, it's obvious that it was opened by someone. And if the operation doesn't meet these two requirements, then they are required to get certified. Now, jumping into 205 101F, this one's very similar, almost the same stipulations, but the NOP specifically addresses the final packaging for retail sales. So it talks about storage and distribution centers. And remember, these are operations that only receive, store, and the product remains in its packaging the entire time. And the product must also be in tamper which is located out of the United States. So by the NOP saying import certificate, it technically means that it's the responsibility of the exporter, the people that are located outside of the US. So the import certificates are to be generated by the exporter's certifying agency prior to the product being shipped. So this means that you have to contact us in advance before the shipment even leaves your operation, because we need to have enough time to prepare the documentation, give it to you so that you have no issues bringing the product into the United States. The import certificate procedure. So the exporter will provide the sales documents to the certifier, and on the next slide, I'll go ahead and let you guys know what it is exactly you need. And then the certifier will input the information into the Organic Integrity Database, the OID system, which is the one that we covered in one of the first slides. And then the client will be provided a copy of the import certificate. And then for you guys that are based in the United States, it's important that you guys maintain copies of these records for record keeping purposes, because during your mass balance and traceability exercises, that is where the information will get verified during your audit. So the required information for import certificates. So please keep in mind that you will be issued one import certificate per product. So if you're managing multiple products, that means that you're going to be receiving multiple certificates. So the things that we need are, one, the organic certificate of everyone involved in that shipment. So being the exporter, the importer, or the person that's on the receiving end if it's different. Number two, the invoice. And then three, the bill of lading. And four, the tariff product codes. Now, we understand that for some operations, it's not realistic for us to be issuing one import certificate per shipment, because there's companies that do multiple shipments throughout the month. And you guys are a great example, because you're located here on the border. Things are coming across the border all the time. So for that, we do have a procedure where with approval, you will be issued one import certificate that can cover multiple shipments within an approved period of time. Now, the procedure is that you provide us the estimated volumes that you're going to have within that month. And then following the end of the month, you will have to do the follow-up to actually provide us all of this information. That way, we're able to verify all of the volumes that are coming into the United States, and it's all on record. And in us issuing the import certificate, just keep in mind that it's going to be issued a 19-digit code. So this specific code, it's going to be 3 digits of our certifier ID as Primus, 10 digits of the OID identification number of the final exporter. So when you do get certified, you get registered on the OID, and you do have a 10-digit, every operator has a 10-digit code. So that'll be incorporated into the number. The last 2 digits of the year, and the 4 digits generated by the online integrity database. Now, please keep in mind that the import certificate template is it's the NOP's document, and it can actually be found on this link here. So as I said, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys. Make sure you guys get a copy so that you have it, and you're able to access the form. But I did put the link there, and then also there's the link to the OID again, so that you know where to access it. Okay, now I just want to go over the data flow of what happens when we input your information onto the OID, because there is a transfer of information that happens. So beginning here on the bottom left, you'll go ahead and contact us. You'll provide us the information for the import certificate, and we'll go ahead and input everything into OID. Now, in us inputting everything into the OID, there's an auto transfer onto the ACE system, which the ACE system is basically the system that Customs utilizes, and that will basically give the NOP access for them to do surveillance on all of the incoming organic imports. And just keep in mind too, the whole purpose of doing this is because there has been a rise in fraud, so that's why the NOP got involved, and they have access to see all of the information of volumes per products that are going to be coming into the United States. All right, so now we're going to be jumping into another topic, the non-retail labeling. So prior to SOE, the only requirement was that you need to have a lot number on the non-retail number, but now, I'm sorry, on the non-retail packaging. But now the mandatory requirements are that you need to identify the product as organic and it must display the production lot number, shipping identification, or other unique information that links the container to the audit trail documentation. So this is basically to strengthen the traceability of product and to be able to link that product to the shipping sales documents. Now moving on to fraud prevention plan. So this is new to the organic program. However, it's not new to a lot of schemes. So you might already have an existing organic fraud prevention program. And if that's the case, just go ahead and make sure that you incorporate these elements into there and that'll be acceptable. But if you don't have one, then it'll include these four elements. So you need to make sure that you do supplier verification procedures, supplier monitoring practices, verify the organic status of products received, and have an organic fraud prevention plan. Now, if you don't have one at all and you have no idea how to do an organic fraud prevention program, there is actually a program that the NOP has endorsed, and it's through the Organic Trade Association, and it basically helps you develop your plan from A to Z. So I did put the link there if that's something that you're interested in. It's a great resource. A lot of our clients have used it, but again, it's not free, but good if you don't have anything established yet. All right, now moving on to records, traceability, and organic fraud prevention. So all the operations, your records must one maintain records of your activities from the span of purchase or acquisition through the production to the sale or transportation. And then two, they need to keep records dating back to the last certified operation in your supply chain. And three, identify the organic products on sales documents and monitoring logs. And finally, describing your organic system plan, the practices and monitoring procedures used to prevent fraud. So now we're going to move on to the strengthening inspection requirements. So beginning with unannounced audits. Now this is nothing new to the organic program. However, now the NOP has updated it to say that we the certifier need to do unannounced audits on 5% of our certified operations. And essentially the whole purpose of doing unannounced audits is just monitoring. If you do get chosen for an unannounced audit, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad operator because you can't just be chosen at random. So it's based on risk at random, or if you're involved in some sort of investigation, then yes, there will be some purpose behind us doing an unannounced audit. Regardless of the reason why, you will be notified and disclosed if there's a specific reason as to why you were chosen. And then also, forgot to mention, that also includes unannounced samples, us taking samples while we're doing your audits. Now, mass balances and traceability, these were already part of the regulation, but now the NOP has officially come forth and said these are mandatory at all inspections. So just be aware at every inspection that you have, you're always going to have to do a mass balance and you're always going to have to do a traceability exercise with the auditor. And lastly, supply chain audits. So these type of audits are new, and if you are chosen for a supply chain audit, it is because you are considered a high risk operator. And we developed a risk assessment. Essentially, what that means is either you were involved in some sort of investigation, your name was mentioned as a result of an investigation, and you just need additional oversight. There's also other cases where the NOP lets us know that they've noticed that there's been an increase in fraud in certain commodities. So if you're managing those commodities, then we'll go ahead and do additional surveillance as well. And similar to the unannounced, if you get chosen for a supply chain audit, You will be disclosed the reason why. Because it is additional surveillance, there is an additional cost to this type of audit, but please keep in mind that depending on the timing of when we are doing it, it can either be combined with your regular on-site inspection, or if it's at a separate time, we could do it unannounced or announced and just schedule it as an additional inspection. All right, so now we're going to move on to more general information. So beginning with our certification process. So it's broken down into 5 steps. So first step being the application process. So this is where you'll go ahead and fill out the application and fill out your organic system plan. And the organic system plan is basically just the details of your entire operation, procedures, anything having to do with the organic program, we want to know about it. Second step is the OSP review. So this is the review of the OSP documentation, and it is a documentation review, so like a desk audit. It takes 7 days where a reviewer will go in, look at your documentation. If additional required is needed, then we'll contact you. But if not, then you'll move forth to the inspection. So the on-site inspection will happen. The auditor will reach out to you, do the inspection with you, and then once they submit the report, it'll bounce over to step 4. So the review of the inspection results, and this is again a desktop review where the reviewer will go ahead and review the um, observations that happened during your audit, and then also review anything else that was left pending from the previous review, or anything else that we need to look at before officially granting you your certificate. So the final step of sending you the certificate, I just want to share that the average certification time for a first-time applicant is 60 to 90 days. Okay, so I wanted to also share the protocols for traders and importers, people that don't have a facility but do want to get certified organic. So please keep in mind that the inspection needs to take place on site, and meaning that we need to confirm and verify the registered business address. Unfortunately, this is something that we tried to work with the NOP to see if we could do virtual inspections, but they said no, that we have to verify the address. So it has to be on site. But we also understand too that a lot of these operators, they're working out of a home office, and sometimes they don't even have an actual like office building site. So if that's the case, if you have no office, or if it's a home office, the documentation review can take place at a public location. So for example, a nearby coffee shop, and then you can just do a simply drive by with the auditor for verification of the site that it exists. And the audit will consist of the documentation review. So we're not going to go through and include the parts that are applicable to a facility. It'll strictly be documentation, and that'll include a review of your import and export activities, because we want to know where you're bringing in product from, where you're sending product to, products and suppliers, biodiversity and natural resources, also review the record keeping system, and lastly, the mass balance and the traceability. All right, so we made it to the end, you guys. So if you're interested in organic certification, I did go ahead and put the contact information of our customer relations department. And if you just even want to reach out just to get pricing, see what the certification is about, they can help you out with any general questions that you have. I also put the organic QA department. If you have a question on a specific regulation, if you need clarification, you don't know how something applies to your operation, you can go ahead and email us any technical questions at that email there. Also our training center. So we do offer training. What we covered today was just part of the SOE. Like I said, those are the parts that affect you guys as the operator. But if you came today and you realize I need more training in organic regulations, we actually have an upcoming training on June 20th through the 21st. It's a webinar, and it is going to go over the introduction of the crop and the handling regulations. So highly recommend that to you, because the trainer also is an amazing trainer. He works with the NOP. He works with other certifiers. So if you have specific questions, he'll be able to answer them during that time as well. So now we made it to the end. I kind of wanted to open it up to see if you guys had any questions. That way we can just address them. We're a smaller group, so I think and we still have a good amount of time. So if anyone wants. Here, let me go back. So the identification, it just means that it has to say organic. So organic bananas, organic oranges, that's what that's referring to. Yeah. Because before, technically that was optional, which is a little strange because, it's the organic regulation, but now it's mandatory. It has to be identified as organic. Oh. Do you guys have any other questions?
Yes, good morning. Question, you're saying that for storage and distribution, they need to be certified, right? But what about whenever they need to do a sample? Does that include the requirement need to be certified, like for an OGA sample, FDA?
As far as, so here, let me go back to. So storage and distribution centers need to be certified that don't meet the tamper-proof packaging requirement. They will have to be certified. Now, as far as sampling during the unannounced inspections, or if we just take a sample of yours, that's part of the organic regulations. So we would be taking a sample based on the regulations because you're certified. Did I answer your question?
What if it's like for another OGA?
So technically, they don't require. Are you saying that it's somebody that's certified organic and the FDA comes in and takes samples? So under the organic program, those programs wouldn't come in and to take samples, but it's not to say that through another program they can't come in and take a sample for you guys. So it doesn't really have to do with the organic regulation. It would be under another program that's independent of you being certified or not. Does that answer your question? Any other questions?
I thought that my custom broker is the one that handles such documents. So the import certificates can be accessed on the integrity database. I mean, can I access my own certificate there?
Yeah, so unfortunately, you cannot. It's not public information. The only people that would have access to that information is your certifier. And also, like I mentioned, customs and the NOP, but it's not open to the public.
Okay, since you mentioned that would be a good document to add it on the mass balance exercise, in order for me to get a copy, then I need to get it from my broker, right? From my customer.
Correct, yeah. So
Okay.
go ahead and get a copy.
Thank you. Okay, so it's not from the database.
Correct, yeah.
Hello. Yes. So whenever you're packing different kind of brands, what do you have to do in that in case it's not your brand?
Are you referring to private label?
Yes, private label.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if you're packing into a private label, report it to your certifier because they are going to want to know that you're packing into that brand. And also they'll have to include it as part of your certification. Now, the way we do it is you're going to have a private label agreement on file for you, meaning that it's an agreement between you and that other company saying, like, yes, you do have permission to pack into our labels. And we'll go ahead and just archive that under your certification.
That document is something that that the program requires, or is it just to back up?
It's that the program requires, however, each certifier has a different, it's the same form, but it's their own document. So
It's better to have it.
yeah, I mean, you can get it from your certifier.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I've got a question here. You had mentioned that there's a time period that you can use a certain month, I guess, of imports, right? Is that correct? And is it when you fill out one of these forms or when you request through the certifier yourself, it's per shipment, or do you say, hey, I've got this much of acreage I want to ship, or a product? How much in advance can they give you, and is it only 30 days, or can it be further than that?
So for us, Primus, our procedure is 30, it can cover 30 days. Now, there are different certifiers, and this just kind of depends on their risk analysis that they can issue up to 6 months. Ours is just a month, though. But the way it'll work is you'll go ahead and report estimated volumes, because sometimes we understand too that, like, you don't know exactly how far in advance you're going to be shipping within that month. So you'll send us an estimated volume of product that you're going to be sending, and it is per shipment. But that one import cert will cover all of those shipments within that month. So technically, we'll be issuing you, remember, one import certificate per product. So if it's just one product that you're managing, we'll issue you one certificate. That certificate will cover multiple shipments within that month. Come the end of the month, you'll go ahead and do the follow-up and actually send us the records and everything of, like, this is exactly what took place within that month, and this is the amount of volume that we shipped, and these are the products.
If that does not get reported back to you, what happens?
If it doesn't,
Right.
we'll issue you a non-compliance, because technically you're out of compliance because you're not reporting to your certifier the information needed to issue you that import certificate.
Thank you.
I recently, from March 19, the enforcement, it was my first experience, and the certificate was done for 1 year. Because the certificate of the grower, you know how sometimes it says the estimated annual volume? So the import certificate was filled out with the amount for the whole year. Since I only have that one supplier, he's gonna do 500,000 boxes. So that's what we're gonna bring. But that's a different CO.
Yeah. So different certification agencies have different times in which an import certificate can cover the transactions. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
They said the custom broker wasn't responsible for that. As a custom broker, I mean, we report it, but it's not like the system has a tally of what they're doing. It's really the exporter's responsibility. It's really declared by kilos, not boxes. So in my end, I have to declare kilos. So, I mean, for me, it's the exporter's responsibility. They're the ones shipping. They're the ones giving me the NOP. So they should be responsible for what is in the tally or not. We declare it, we're not responsible. So, and the system doesn't generate, this is what you have, your certificate is still good. I mean, it's not, the program is pretty new. Maybe things will change, but they're not that detailed. So since they took us off the hook, all they told us is you need to be responsible to have a certificate on file. Then that's pretty much what we're doing and declaring that import certificate in the system. But no, your custom broker is probably not going to keep the tally. Yes.
So,
Right. Because we're
Yeah.
not responsible for it, honestly.
and I'll
so.
add to We didn't cover the exemption, but there is an exemption that exists for custom brokers. Just be careful though, because don't confuse that with the importer. The custom broker is exclusively if they're just in charge of the documentation portion and not technically making any revenue off of the sale of organic products.
Yes, but as a service of a customs broker, we can help out and give you an idea what your balance is or how many boxes you've crossed, and uh, help out the customer to have an idea how much is left in boxes. Uh, we also get the certificate of origins that are done like in a blanket form for a whole year. So uh, we'd be glad to help out, our importer to tell them how many amounts are left and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. A lot of it depends too on each operator is going to have their own individual procedures. So I don't want to say like you all need to have your custom brokers keep track of this information because that's not the way that it works. Just remember, technically, by you being certified, the mass balance is always going to be applicable to you. So, regardless of however you get that information, whether it be your custom brokers is going to be the one providing you the information so that you're able to do the mass balance at the time of your audit, or if it's going to be the importer that's going to be reporting to you, or if you want to keep track of it yourself. I mean, however you want to do it, it's acceptable as long as you're able to provide the information of volumes and products that you managed. Any other questions? Okay, if you think of a question later on after, we do have business cards. My business card is here. Julian's is also here. He's from our customer relations team. So just go ahead and take one, and you guys can contact me at any time. We have a dedicated quality assurance department. Josie Quevedo is our technical manager. She's not here today, but I'm sure she's talked to a lot of you guys as well. So that concludes the presentation. I just want to thank you guys for your time.
Buenos dias, buenos dias. Good morning. Just one last thing. Every single document you see, a piece of paper, Janie, you should know this because Janie's always here. So round of applause for Janie. Once again, thank you. Thank you for coming for the city of FAR. Hector, thanks. We just want to, for you guys that are from FAR, not FAR, there's some information. There's a work mode information. There's an event going to be conducting here on June 5th. It's free at no cost. A lot of the times we receive a lot of calls from storages, from cold storage facilities, warehouses, dry, even custom brokers, blah, 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 you name it. When something hits the fan, everybody's calling, asking, who should I call? Because I'm out of power. Who should I call? Because there's no water, because due to the hurricane or due to whatever it is the case, will be a day for you guys, if you guys can come, it's free. There's going to be every single department from the city of FAR providing information and updates on this. So this is free. Take all that. Also, the QR code is something that we know. You guys know already. Just go in there, scan it, blah, blah, blah. What do you think of the event, the topic, the interest? Pretty much it's just, we need your support on that. For you guys to go and fill it out. You saw this. ¿Todos entienden inglés? Digo, disculpe, no, yo estoy hablando inglés, no sé si estamos bien con el inglés, pero este es el QR code. Les agradecería si lo escanean para que participen en la encuesta que estamos realizando ahí. Y una vez más, tenemos también el sign-in sheet. Este sign-in sheet es algo que tienen que poner ustedes en letra de molde. For you guys to put your, sign in there and print, please. Let the one be a one and the I be an I. Because then Cleo, when she's trying to send an email, she's putting an I, but it's an extra one. So, Janie, please make sure it's a one, not an I. No, I'm just kidding. I'm picking at Janie because Janie's okay. And all this other information, it's free for you guys. So please help yourself. There's coffee. There's some sweet bread and waters. Once again, thanks for joining and attending this, which I know you guys, Emily, you guys done great. If I was you, stick around for the Spanish version. No se vayan. Si no se tienen que ir, no se vayan. I go Felipe and Jenny, you guys are the bosses, so you guys can stay. Se pueden quedar. Su servidor, Freddy Flores, una vez más, en el puente de aquí de FAR, el municipio de FAR. Thank you once again to attend. Yo me tengo que retirar, pero aquí se quedan en buenas manos con Primus. Thank you.
Gracias.
Yes.
Thank you, Freddy. Thank you so much. And guys, at 11 o'clock we're going to start the class en español. Así que se pueden quedar porque a lo mejor salen más preguntas y aquí hay que aprovechar que vino Emily desde California. La trajimos especialmente para ustedes. Ayer casi no llegaba porque hubo muchos tornados ahí en Dallas Airport, pero gracias a Dios aquí está con nosotros Emily. Muchas gracias, Emily. Te agradecemos. Un aplauso para Emily, muchachos.
Thank you, guys.
Entonces, pueden tomar un receso y a las 11 comenzamos la clase en español. ¿Ok?